Hello, my name is Lamerck, and welcome to the Naval Sports League. For our first time watchers, the Naval Sports League, or NSL, is the ultimate naval competition in the game of Holdfast Nations at War. League battles are simple. Two teams, each led by a single admiral, pilot five large capital ships and two small support boats, with the goal of sinking as many capital ships as they can within 35 minutes. Whoever sinks the most wins, and if there's a tie, we decide the winner by overall score. Teams consist of anywhere between 20 to 40 players, and the league provides mercenaries to balance out any number disparities between the teams. Every player in the league, be they a team player or a mercenary, is competing hard for end of season awards and accolades. Every battle will take place on a randomly chosen map, with randomly chosen wind direction. Both of these factors mean that no two battles will ever be the same. The league lasts 9 months, from late February to November, with 3 to 4 games a month for you to enjoy. Once that main season is over, the top 3 teams of the league will duke it out to determine who wins the champion's crown. The NSL is a collection of Holdfast's most talented admirals, officers, and crews, and the tactical gameplay you'll see here is at a higher level than anything else this game has to offer. We hosts and co-hosts will be here for the entire battle to help you understand the decisions and strategies you'll see play out in the NSL Coliseum. So, without further ado, let's get to the pre-game coverage. I am joined today by a legend in the naval community, Killam. How are you? Welcome to the host seat in the NSL.
Hey, Lamarck, how you doing? I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here, and I'm really looking forward to this match.
For those of you who don't know, Killam is perhaps one of the most important people in not just the NSL, but Naval itself. Every map that you have seen here in the NSL, and many of the maps that many of you have played in our events, or even in the public servers that we used to run, were all made by this man right here. He is like the he. I can't think of an appropriate title for how important you are to this community, Killam. But we are honored to have you here hosting today. And is there anything that you'd like to say to all the folks who have enjoyed all of your many maps over these many weeks and, frankly, at this point, years of NSL?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I do this because I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's a great game, and I hope to do this for a long time to come. And I hope the game's around for a long time as well.
Well, I think it's going to be, especially considering what's coming up in the future, which we will be talking about, perhaps not in this broadcast, but in a future broadcast very soon. Anyway, Killam, let's get into what we're doing here today in the NSL. Let's start with the league standings. There has finally been a major move in the top half of the league standings, and as excited as we are to see it, it may be undone by today's battle. But let's enjoy it while we've got it. We have the Leviathans with a 7-0 record, first place, our undefeated Leviathans. Then we have the SCP 38s now at second place with their most recent win over the Jackals. They are now equal to the Krakens in their record of 5-2. We've always talked about how those points totals that you're seeing off of the far right of the league standings, that's what comes into play when a team has a tied win-loss record. And here we are finally seeing one right in front of us. The SCP 38s are your number 2 team in the league this week. And it is up to the Krakens, who have been bumped down to number 3, to claw their way back up to their, perhaps they think, rightful position in second place in this league. After that, we have the Royal Black Fleet, who we're also going to be seeing today, battling the Krakens, the Jackals, and the Marines. So what we have here is what seems to be a mostly locked in top tier and a locked in bottom tier, though that's not to say it couldn't happen. We do only have a few matches left in the season, so it does look like these are really solidified in here. However, what the Royal Black Fleet has the opportunity to do today is solidify itself at the top of the lower bracket, and more importantly, knock the Krakens off of second place permanently. So that's something that could be happening today, and you can see that in the league standings here. Kill, I'm going to pass it over to you to take a look at the player leaderboard. We've had some movement there as well. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure, yeah. So for first place right now, we got Spicy Paper. He's just been a force to be reckoned with this entire season. He's right up there at the top. That KD is pretty impressive, but mostly that average score is pretty darn high. Creeping up, we got McCandless. He's been making steady inroads here. At second place, Dan Franklin, however you want to say it. I call him Dan Frank. He's been steadily creeping up, and he is making inroads, and he's up there at third place. And as you can see, he's not too much far behind from McCandless on average score. So, he and that KD is getting pretty impressive. So I think he's going to be something to really be reckoned with. Shadows had a bit of a drop, as has Scorrigan, but they're not to be counted out for sure.
Yeah. We've had a lot of stability in the player leaderboard, though they jockey for position. These are the names that we've been seeing for quite some time. Dan Franklin being the new guy on the block, obviously making a pretty great name for himself there, now at third place on the player leaderboard. All right, kill 'em. It's time for the side by side. Let's talk about the Royals and the Krakens. The Royal Black Fleet is not led by Imperator Gilly today, actually. I think that might be incorrect. I think if I don't know if you'd seen this, I think he actually had a last minute something come up, and it actually will not be him leading the fleet today. So, Kilm, actually, what I'm going to have you do is read off the side by side. I'm going to check in and make sure I know who the admiral is for that. So, if you don't mind taking over for the side by side here, real quick.
Sure. So for the Royals today, as reported on screen, is Emperor Gilly. I believe it may be Jay
I
that
think
is
you're
going to
right. It's
be
Jay.
Admiral today. Yep. So he'll be leading
Okay.
the fleet.
Yep.
Yep. And so that'll be really great.
Okay, so
There.
you guys are seeing Jay on the screen. Maybe we have some older host information. I'm sorry about that. The host information we're looking at a little bit different from what you're looking at the screen. It is Jay, so if you can see that there, normally it's Imperator Gilly, and I'm sorry to interrupt, Killen, but I want to make
Oh,
this point that Gilly has been leading the Royal Black Fleet for quite some time now. He's a very steady hand at the tiller, and it's going to be a very interesting thing to see with him not there. Killen, continue on, please.
yeah, no problem. So the Royals are at 2-5 season record. Their all-time matchup is 1-1. Their top players are Splunker K, the Pickleman 69, and Mr. Death. Very, very good players in and of themselves. I look forward to seeing how they're going to perform today. And the one to watch on the Royal side is going to be Shum. For the Krakens, it looks like Admiral is going to be Percy, very experienced Admiral, followed up by Killer Bow Guy, who's going to be Vice Admiral. Their season record at 5-2, all-time matchup, 1-1. Top players, of course, going to be McCandless, Scorrigan, and Verita. Great players again on that side, and the one to watch is Grice, which I absolutely agree with as well. Merc.
Yeah. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make the case for each of these teams why we think they're going to win. I will start since Killam, you just did a little bit of talking and give you a minute to catch your breath and take a sip of
Sure.
your drink. I will start with the Krakens, and this is a very easy case to make. The Krakens have, for most of this season, been the number 2 team in the league. Generally speaking, they are almost undefeatable. They have incredible amounts of organizational power. They have the team that is built almost entirely from their own members, which is to say that they're not split amongst a bunch of different regiments, which gives them a lot of cohesion. They have experienced admirals. They have great cannoneers. They have great captains. The only thing that I could say is that the Royals have technically beaten them before, but it wasn't this season. Um, and so the all-time matchup being 1-1, you can see that there is the opportunity for the Royals to put the hurt on the Krakens. I think it was a very specific circumstance in which the Royals beat the Krakens, and it was in the preseason, not season 1, the preseason, a long time ago. That said, the Royals have tasted the blood of the Kraken, and maybe they're out for more. I think that they possibly could do it, but I think with all of the institutional power that the Krakens have, the fact that they are just a behemoth of the league, I can't see anybody beating them, maybe except
Yeah.
for the Leviathans at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, and
All right, Kim.
so for my side, I've always been a fan of the underdog, and I think the Royals have a really good chance to unseat the Krakens today, mostly because I think they're hungry. We've seen a very competitive season, and as the season goes on, people are getting more and more used to working together, working as teams, figuring out how to incorporate those mercs into their team, and I think that they really do have a great shot. They don't have terrible strategy either, so I think they're really going to start pushing the Kraken a bit more. Sorry for the slip there. I know I'm going to get yelled at later for that one, right?
No,
But
no, no, no.
but yeah,
Um,
I think they're hungry. I think it's going to be a good watch.
I agree with you. I think, if you take a look at the leaderboard right now, these two teams are adjacent on the league standings leaderboard. I mean, the Krakens are third place and the Royal Black Fleet's fourth place. On paper, this should be a close match. But I think there are some things that are going to be really in the way of the Royals. I think, and we're not, repping any team anymore. This is just sort of my loose thoughts here. I think the Royals have gotten really comfortable with Gilly as their admiral.
Yeah,
Without Gilly as their admiral, that man leading them that they're used to, I'm wondering how that's going to go. But also, I mean, Percy, though not a new admiral by any means, is also not always the guy who was doing this. It was Killer Bow guy for a very long time, and he's vice
Hmm.
admiral today. So he's still going to be there, but Percy has stepped up. So we do have two not untested, but certainly not the usual admiral. So I can't wait to see how that's going to go. All right, well, let's move on to the map preview. We have a merciful wind for both teams here. We have
Hmm.
even wind for both teams. Wind is going to be going west, which is going to be straight upwards on that map, with the Royals on the left side of the screen and the Krakens on the right side of the screen, with completely even islands all around. We're going to see a situation where both of the teams have the exact equal setup and starting point. So, Killam, this comes down now to the personality of the teams and what they are both going to do with equal opportunities. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, with even wind like this, it's going to be an interesting match for sure. This type of a map with the islands, people tend to be wary of islands, but with a neutral wind, I think we're going to see some activity in the islands, which is going to be a little bit different. I mean, last week we saw a lot of action in quote unquote open oceans, as it were, but at this time, I think we're going to see more action in the islands, and then eventually a wall skirmish as it usually ends up. So that's my take on it, Mark.
Yeah, I'm thinking that we're probably going to see both of these teams try to go east, go
Yeah.
down, and against the wind, um, just to try and not let the other person get that really good motion. I mean, it's certainly possible that the Krakens are feeling themselves today, thinking that this is going to be a walk in the park, and they charge the center instead of going against the wind, and they just hit the Royals without really caring too much about the wind. But I harken back to the time that the Royals beat the Krakens. There was a lot wrong with that match, and that wrong was not from either team. It was actually from us. We had some difficulties. One of the ships didn't have the appropriate amount of HP, and it got sunk immediately, and they had to restart the game. It was a mess, unfortunately. But
Right.
but that said, the Royals really used Kraken's um, confidence against them in those battles. And I think we're in a similar situation today where it's certainly possible that the Krakens are coming into this battle thinking like this is a guaranteed win for them. I know that they would probably, if they were here, rebuke that. They would say, no, we don't ever think that any battle is a guaranteed win. But we all, especially at the top, we have to be honest with ourselves and say that there are some battles that we come into thinking that we are the favorite. And I think that they must be thinking that right now. That is the Royal Black Fleet's opening, is to that the Krakens make a mistake based on confidence, and the Royal Black Fleet can exploit it. That said, the Krakens are less and less often these days making mistakes, and they tend to have just an incredibly strong fleet formation with just keeping that 13 gun offset, using the 8 guns as a shield, hitting the enemy, targeting specific ships, and really hammering the enemy down. Um, that's what I've seen kill him. I don't.
Yeah.
What I've seen from the Royals is a little bit different. They seem to have very sort of obtuse win conditions. A lot about they're thinking a lot more about the points than sometimes than they even are about the ships. How do you feel like these two teams' perspectives coming into this is going to shape their tactical decisions?
Yeah, I think the perspectives are going to be very different. Like you said, the Kraken are very controlled, very methodical. You can see the thought processes going in. With the Royals, maybe not so much, but and this is the important thing is that we don't know what Jay is going to do as admiral. He could
Yeah.
just totally have a separate idea up his sleeve, and I have seen situations with the Kraken where, you know, doing something unexpected can unhinge them a little, and it can lead to some disruption of their thought processes. And
Very
so
true.
what I hope to see is some, quite frankly, some aggressiveness coming out of the Royals. I'd like to see them just absolutely go for blood on this match.
It would be nice. It's unusual. They tend to be a slightly more defensively minded team, I
Yeah.
think, on the whole. They're cautious coming out. They are looking at the enemy. They're trying to make those decisions based off of the enemy. Um, so it's a tough one. It is. I can
Yeah.
never tell what I'm gonna get from the Royals, but I'm hoping Jay brings. You're right. I'm hoping Jay brings a lot of aggression. And if
Yeah.
they do, I think the Krakens are going to be pretty surprised by it.
Yep. Yep. New blood, new thought processes. That's my take on this. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how this works out.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good battle. I really do. Um, I know that when it comes to the Krakens, um, I mean, we haven't talked really about the stakes. I mentioned it a little bit early on, but the stakes for the Krakens are huge here. A
Oh yeah.
loss, a loss, um, takes them out of striking distance for first place. It puts them into third place, which is, I think, it's not going to change their opportunities, right? They're still going to be in the upper bracket. They're not going to be in the lower bracket come the end of the season. But I could definitely see a situation in which a moral blow like this may affect them in the long term, and it decrease their morale, maybe going
Yeah.
into the final stretch of the season and into the finals themselves. We do have the map up now. So we are in and set up. And again, I just want to remind everybody we have the Royal Black Fleet on the left side of the screen from the overhead. We have we have the Krakens on the right side of the screen. So the Royal Black Fleet will be in the yellow ships today, and the Krakens will be in the green ships today. And I want to make sure I have a confirmation on that from somebody, because I know we had a little issue last time. So somebody make sure that I'm Royal Black Fleet on the left. Yeah, Royals are yellow. Okay, Royals are yellow. Thank you, behind the scenes guys, for double checking for me. Krakens are green. Royals are yellow. Um, it's we talk a lot about how the wind's going to affect things, kill them, usually because the wind is affecting one guy or the other. But we just don't
Yeah.
have that here. This is anybody's opening. This is anybody's opening.
Yeah, indeed. And with neutral wind, not only is it anybody's opening, but it's going to affect the later stages of the game because it's literally just straight down the middle. It's not one way or the other. So you can get into a situation, think that you're going to be pretty good, especially if you've been used to these wonky winds we've had this season, and all of a sudden you find out, whoa, wait a minute, no, this is not what I expected, especially with these teams. But I expect both of them to really keep an eye on that for sure. But also with this type of a map, with those long islands, that's going to have an impact as well. We got two of them going straight dead against the wind. They're going to be blockers right there in the middle. That's something to
Yeah.
be cognizant of.
It's these pill-shaped islands have been the doom of many an admiral. Not in this
Mhm.
particular map, but in maps in general. These pill-shaped islands, they befuddle people. They really do. And this map is a little bit less, because you do have that open channel in the middle that
Mhm.
these guys can come through and have a little bit of their battle here. If I'm not mistaken, the first ever NSL battle was us versus the Royal Black Fleet. I think it was on this map,
Yeah.
and I remember, those islands, once you're swinging around, you're not thinking about them, and they come out of nowhere. Suddenly they're in front of you, and you have to make a decision. So yeah, we'll see how
Yeah.
it goes. And we
Yeah.
have
That's
our live.
yeah. That's a good point. And I'm already taking a look at the Royals here. It looks like initially they might be staking off their northeast. So as
Yeah.
predicted, trying to go against the wind to get the weather gauge later in the battle.
Now, here's a question for you, Kilm, because you're a very
Mhm.
experienced captain yourself. Let's say you want to make it down to those islands as quickly as possible. Now, going due east is going to be your slowest option. So do you kind of like go at a very shallow angle, mostly going like north northeast, and then turn when you get there, or do you go really more east northeast? You're kind of deader against the wind, but you've got a stronger angle to get down there. What's the faster way for you to get where you want to go?
Yeah, so for me, I will tend to mirror whatever my opponents are doing. Just, don't let them get ahead of me too much. But in a map like this with islands, you want to give yourself an out. I tend to go more towards the northeast. It's a bit of a faster tack. It gets you a little bit closer faster. I can be a little bit more aggressive as a captain, which can be a bit of my downfall at times. But in this situation, the first one that's going to get to these islands starts to get to be able to dictate where it's going to go later.
Yeah, agreed. And as just like you said, they are almost a mirror image of each other. If
Yeah.
anything, and sometimes the perspective can be a little bit misleading here. It looks like maybe the Krakens have a slightly more aggressive angle going in.
Yep.
But what you can see from the Royals is that they've already set up their offset 13 gun, and that offset 13 gun could come into play later as a big deal. Big deal.
Yeah, indeed. And that, we've seen the offsets, and what that does is it means that the 8 guns have less of a reach on the 13 gun, because once you get into battle, the less damage that you can take on that ship, the better, because the 13 gun is really your tank. The cannons on that thing, for reference, the 8 guns have little 4 pounders, the 13 gun has 9 pounders. So that's a lot of firepower right there when you start talking about HP that you're dealing. And of course, we see that neither team is leading with the 13 gun, which is generally a good thing because you're not going to just throw it in there, get it damaged really quick. You want to hold that back a little bit.
What I am noticing from the Krakens is that they are leading with their gunboats a little bit more
Mhm.
than the Royals seem to be, who are holding their gunboats kind of further back towards their 13 gun. The Kraken seem to be pretty aggressively claiming some of the space with those gunboats, maybe ready to harass ships as they come around these islands. And the nice thing is getting because these fleets are going to enter this lower island area simultaneously, having gunboats that are kind of deep in against the wind and can turn up. Oh wait,
Yep.
hold on. Just as I say
Yeah.
so, take a look at the
Yeah.
Royal Black Fleet.
Yeah. I was just about to get excited there. We're gonna start diving in. That's that aggressive move that I was hoping to see. I hope they don't turn too much left. Well, at least from my screen, I should say too much west. I should say.
They have a lot of space between them right now.
Yeah.
So, to pull out at this point is pretty safe. It's actually a little early. And so it's going to tip the hat to the Krakens, who are probably going to just keep trucking along down to the southeast and not worry too much about this. Because what the Royals have done is they have given the Krakens the wind gauge. And what do we mean by that? We mean that the Krakens are now going to have the ability to turn their ships to the right? If they turn right, which we call starboard, they can then they have the wind. So what you'll probably see is that the Krakens are going to continue moving along down this trajectory that they have now until they get close to passing the line, right? So I'm going to actually draw on the screen real quick and see if I can kind of outline what I think might happen here. So what I'm thinking is that these guys are going to come somewhere down this way as these guys pass in this direction. And once these two lines have kind of passed each other here, then you're going to see that the Krakens are going to swing up and around, maybe even swing up and around here. And that is to cut off the back of this line and hit some of these rear ships. That's what you can do when you reserve the wind gauge for yourself. But it's not a guarantee that the Royals are going to play into that plan. They look like they're keeping a very healthy distance, though they are getting tagged, that lead ship,
Yep.
by the front cannon of the 13 gun. What do you think this is going to go, Kill him?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think the Kraken have to be very careful with those islands. They could easily get themselves into a situation where they've got to make a decision that's not going to be beneficial. And I do see that they are pulling away from that pill-shaped island, like you said, which is the death of many situations. We got a lot of fire starting up here as well. I think the Royals are going to continue on the track that they have right now. It's the safe bet, like you said. They do tend to be the safer team when it comes to strategy. So looks like that's starting to play out here a bit.
Yeah. I mean, this is right now what we're looking at is these fleets kind of flirting with each other.
Yeah.
The 13 gun on the Krakens is putting some damage into the lead 8 gun of the Royal Black Fleet's fleet, but it's not going to be substantial. I don't see it being reflected on the ship HPs at the top, which are those white ships that you're seeing underneath the team's logos at the top of the screen there. You'll start to see that white is like, think of it as it's filled up with the white and it will deplete as the ship HP goes down. That's not really happening yet on whatever 8 gun the Krakens are tagging. Uh, at this point, at the long range distance, it's actually not such a bad idea that the Krakens have their 13 gun in line with their 8s because it allows the 13 gun to hit further. Whereas those 8s can't reach the 13. I don't think. Oh, well, I could be wrong. I just saw a cannon destruction which killed Icy. I'm sure they
Ooh.
haven't put Icy on. He's Icy, by the way, a Leviathan player, one of the best cannoneers in Holdfast. And hopefully he wasn't on the Carronade, because if he was on their Carronade, and I don't think they would put him on the Carronade, but if they did, 13 guns. I'm hearing 13 gun
Oh,
side cannon. That's a KRN 13 gun side cannon destroyed very early on. You do not want that. You
no,
really don't. Not that.
no,
Not
no,
this early.
no, definitely not. And I am seeing some. We talk about focus fire. I'm not really seeing a lot of really great focus fire here. I see a lot of firing, I see a lot of shots landing, but not anything too focused. The Royals are keeping their 13 well protected in the back. Now,
Yeah.
granted, it's being protected, but that also means it can't do a lot of damage with those bigger cannons.
The thing is, this is not the part of the battle where things. So right now we're getting into the part of the battle where the action's going to really start. Because
Yeah,
again, this is kind of just what I was drawing earlier. And take a look here. The Krakens, right? We talked about them going this way, them going this way. Now the Krakens have the wind. They have the wind gauge, right? The wind is where it's pointing this way. So they're going to be able to cut right here if they want it. Like if they want to get aggressive, if they want to go crazy, they can cut right here. And these guys are going to slowly turn this way. And as the Royal Black Fleet begins to turn, basically getting the front of their ships pointed east, dead against the wind, that's when the Krakens can start to swing behind them. And they can do it from some distance. They could be a little bit more conservative and hang out maybe just past that pill-shaped island, and they will just be hitting the back of this fleet like crazy. This is the Kraken's moment to pounce. They're going to take a little bit of damage coming in, but they're going to give a lot more if they can get to position. What are the worries in this moment? Because this is a moment of action, Killam. What are you
yeah.
worried about if you're the Krakens coming in for the aggressive approach?
Yeah, the aggressive approach here is great, but that island again, the islands are making you turn, which brings your cannons out of the firing line, and you're having to renegotiate where your ships are and try to get back into line so you can make that pounce. And they're slowing down a little bit. I'm surprised by that, but you know,
They're trying to
it's
keep
I
order.
yeah, yeah. In this case, for me, order is almost secondary. You need to get into position. You need to do it quickly,
I agree.
especially with
That's
the wind.
It's a very Leviathan thing to say. Um, so this right here, the 13 gun at the rear of the Royal Black Fleet's line is in extraordinary danger right now. And the reason is because the Krakens can get their entire fleet to bear on that 13 gun while that 13 gun is dead against the wind at this moment. And all of its ships are ahead of it. So there's no ships behind it that could possibly come in and take some of the interests of the Krakens. I think we're about to see the Royal Black Fleet's 13 gun get absolutely obliterated in the next 5 minutes here.
Yeah,
That's
I
my
think
prediction.
I think you're absolutely correct on that. And unfortunately, it looks like the Royals, their lead eights are almost out of range to do any damage. So this has become a situation where the Krakens are just ready to destroy that 13 and that lone eight that are really close. I think they've made a mistake here and they've gotten far too close. You know, when I hold trainings for our captains internally to our regiment, I'm always talking about don't get too close, keep yourself at range, because when you get close, that's when that skill at cannoneering is almost negated because you're so close. It's so easy to get those shots in, and I think that's what we're seeing here now.
Right now, the ship HPs look pretty similar. That is not going to last long term. The 13, the Royal Black Fleet's 13 gun, you can see even by the way its sails are operating, it is in panic mode because the Krakens are swinging around behind it. This is a perfectly executed offense from the Krakens. Their whole fleet is together. It's all focusing fire on a single ship. It's kind of a miracle, actually, that the Royal Black Fleet's 13 gun hasn't lost more. And look at the 8 guns on the Royal Black Fleet. They are MIA right now. This is a really collapsed formation on their part. And this is going to be what wins it for the Krakens if they can continue to press this advantage. Whereas the Royal Black Fleet's dead against the wind, doing the longest, most circuitous route around that round-shaped island. It's brutal. This is brutal.
Yeah, and that poor 13 is in the position it absolutely doesn't want to be in, with no cannons in rotation to do any damage. All it is right now is a punching bag. I mean, it's getting some shots on an 8 gun, but really this is not the situation to be in. And you know, we always talk about after action reports for captaincy and all that stuff. If that was my captain, I'd be put him up on a big old fizzer right now for getting himself in that situation.
Yeah.
What are the go ahead.
Well, no, I mean it's but you can blame the captain, of course, but you also have to kind of put the onus on the admiral here for giving up the wind and allowing the situation. This was a predictable situation. I mean, you give the enemy the wind, and especially an enemy like the Krakens, they're gonna use it, and they're gonna use it to do what? To cut around behind your most vulnerable ship, especially the 13 gun if they can get it. So this was something you could see from a mile away. This is what we call the death spiral, the doom spiral. What do we call it? There's a million names
Yeah.
for it. But the circle in which one team gives the wind at the beginning, but then gets it at the key moment. And there you go. That's the 13 gun down.
Yep.
So now that's it. And the Krakens haven't taken very much damage in return for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah, not good. And also, I'd like to point out the Kraken fleet. That's beautiful sailing right there. They're all in a line. They're right where they need to be. All cannons in rotation. The Royals are a little bit disheveled. They got one ship way out in the front, one's blocking the other, and the other way behind. So they really need, if they want to have any type of effectiveness at this point, regroup. And with the Kraken heading down to the other side of the map, now would be the time to do so.
Yeah, the Krakens are giving them the space, and I don't think they really need to care. The Krakens could say, "All right, well, we got what we came here for. We sunk the 13 gun. Now the battle is on our terms, right?" You know that the Royal Black Fleet tends to have this calculation where if they're up on points, they get very comfortable and they want to kind of pull back. But there's a flip side to that, which is when you're low on points, you have to start getting very aggressive because you have to make a Hail Mary play to get back into this thing. They need to sink. All these 8 guns need to do nothing but focus fire on that 13 gun and nothing else. They can do it right now, actually. They're in a great position to do it. If they were, and I'll draw on the screen a little bit here and see if I can plot this out. But if they can get their ships in line and just kind of charge right here and get to this zone here, that's where the 13 gun is going to end up. The 13 gun right now is not, maybe it's going to slide back here. Maybe the 13 gun is going to play it smart. Maybe it's going to go straight and have these 8 guns sidle up ahead of time and create the shield in front of it. And if it does that, then the Royal Black Fleet's just shit out of luck. But, if the 13 gun in any way makes a vulnerable maneuver, the 8 guns of the Royal Black Fleet are fresh. They probably have all their guns. They could put up a possible attack on the 13 gun. But this is the Krakens we're talking about here, Killam. They're not going to give that opening.
No, I don't think they're going to. I do think that the Royals are making the right decision here of not going into the islands. Doing so would be an absolute death knell for them. They've taken the safe route again. But in this case, I absolutely agree that they should be. It's a secondary circle of death, as we call it. So now we've got cover, of course. So it's a good question as to what's going to happen next.
I don't know. I honestly do think that the Royal Black Fleet probably should have been a little bit more aggressive here. You're going to get hit by the 13 guns when you're coming in. It doesn't matter. You have to ignore everything but the 13 gun. And what the Royal Black Fleet is doing right now with its fleet work is it's having a regular line battle. But a regular line battle means it's going to fight all the enemy 8 guns and it's going to fight the enemy 13 gun. There's no winning that. All things being even right now, they're down the most important ship that they have. And so they needed to do something, I think, way more aggressive and frankly, near suicidal. Sacrifice an 8 gun to put 4 8 guns worth or 3 8 guns worth of guns into that 13 gun. The way it's happening now, the Krakens have this beautiful firing sort of triangular position where the 13 gun is laid back, but it has as these Royal Black Fleet 8 guns just come forward one at a time, they're going to just get steamrolled. And most of their cannons are going to get destroyed. That's the real risk here.
Yeah.
Is losing your cannons.
Yeah, and as we could see, we got some great focus fire coming from the KRN to the Royals, and that lead 8 gun has taken a lot of damage there. And another thing I'd like to point out is that the Krakens did a great move there, one of my favorite, which is to stop. So many captains do not take into account the power of stopping when you have a great position, which is exactly what they did. And now they're starting to creep forward a bit because there is a slight danger here that they could get the rear of their fleet cut off by the Royals. Nope, another cannon explosion there.
I think, at this point, because of their overwhelming ship advantage here with the 13 gun, they could just put a single 8 gun as a rear guard and probably be just fine. But they're going to play it safe. They don't want to lose points. This, for them, right now, they're thinking, not only do we need to win this, right? Not only do we need to beat the Royal Black Fleet, we need a really healthy points difference between us so that we can secure that second place position for ourselves. And maybe possibly come back and challenge let's say the Leviathans lose their next 2 battles, which is not out of the question here. That might put them in a position where they might have enough points to actually be first place. First place is really nice because then you get a free ticket to the finals. and you
Yeah.
don't have to compete in the semifinals.
Yeah, here's how you mentioned that rear guard. We got a couple of 8 guns taking up that position, and the rest of the Kraken fleet, yeah, smelling blood, going in hard, and that's going to possibly cause a bit of a force on the Royals to split their fleet. But they are staying together. But this is deathly close, and they don't have the ship pool to be, or the HP pool to pull this off. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and the tragedy is here is that the Royal Black Fleet's gunners are doing a great job, right? They are. I've seen cannon explosion after cannon explosion on these Kraken ships, so they're doing a great job. And unfortunately, that is the cooperative interplay between an admiral and the captains and the crew. The admiral has to set you up using the wind for an advantageous position over the enemy so that the gunners can do what they do best. When you're in a situation like this, where unfortunately the choices that were made regarding the wind early on in the game put you on such a defensive position and give the Kraken so many advantages over you positionally, it makes it so that even the greatest cannoneers in the world can't necessarily pull a rabbit out of the hat here and get a victory. Again, though, if I was the Royals, I would be telling them, forget the enemy 8 guns. Even though you're about to cross the T of 2 8 guns, forget them. Get every 8 gun in range of the 13 gun and sink it now, sink it now, sink it now. There's nothing more important than that because you can beat 8 guns. Even if your 8 guns are a little bruised up, you can beat enemy 8 guns. But if you forget about that 13 gun, it will be the thing that finishes you off. That is the specter of death over them. And when it's still on the board, they are going to lose no matter what.
Yeah, indeed, and we can see that they are trying to cross the T of a couple ships here. The Kraken are doing a masterful job of navigating around these islands and mitigating the risk, except for that one 8 gun that is going off to the southwest there. He's going to pull himself away. He might not be long for this world, but the rest of the fleet, they're hanging in there.
I mean, the thing here is the overriding concern of the Krakens has to be to not let their 13 gun get caught.
Yeah.
And so to sacrifice an 8 gun to, take a look at this shiny 8 gun. Go get it, guys. While the 13 gun does what? Swings around that pill-shaped island and cuts off from the rear, right? We're seeing another circle. As the circle passes, one side has good wind, one side has bad wind. The Krakens are now over the part of their circular motion where they now have the neutral wind. Remember, because the wind is going straight up on the overhead, it's going to the west. Now they're about to catch the wind again, and the Royals are about to lose the wind again. So let the Royals chase that 8 gun. Let them get all excited about a ship that if they sink it, they merely tie the battle up shipwise, while the Krakens position themselves for the final stroke, which I think is what we're seeing here.
Yeah, we've talked about that strategy in the past, the wounded bird strategy, and it's a great
Yes.
one to do where you just put one ship off by itself to lure everyone into that false sense of complacency of I'm going to get a kill. Well, guess what? You've now put yourself in a situation where you're going to get killed, and it's not a great position to be in. Definitely have some gunboat action going on there too at the end of the Royal Fleet.
13 gun's holding position here. 13 gun's feeling confident for the Krakens. He's saying, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna be a holding position here, and I think he probably wants to cover that 8 gun a little bit too. That lone 8 gun out there.
Yeah, plus it gives them an anchor. That 13 gun, you can't ignore it. You either have to go for it or run from it, and that's going to force the Royals to either pull straight or pull right. In either situation, that's going to get their T-cross, which is what we see happening now. That
Sure
13
is.
gun. Yeah, that 13 gun's got a lot of teeth left in it too, even though it's pretty beat up.
Yeah, I wonder how many portside cannons do you see on it, Killam? Do you see?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm going to zoom in here and take a look. Looks like, yeah, they're only down one cannon.
Yeah,
That is amazing for the amount of damage that ship has taken.
That's a very healthy ship.
Yeah, lot of teeth left in it. And meanwhile, the 8 guns.
Yeah, please go ahead. Talk about those 8 guns.
Yeah, those 8 guns are pulling back behind the Royals, and the Royals are kind of getting caught up on themselves, blocking each other from firing.
That's the rearmost 8 gun of the Royal Black Fleet is down. It just took like a punishing broadside from the three eight guns and the 13 gun. Oh, maybe I'm wrong here. It was actually the front ranks bottommost eight gun. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, I thought it was the rearmost one
yeah,
because that is
it
just
isn't.
taking a beating right now.
Yeah, it's probably not long for this world either. Looking at the amount of damage it's taken, I'm
It's
curious as
just
to.
below half HP. It's for me. It's the one that's the leftmost eight gun on the HP screen for them, and
Yeah,
yeah, it's below half. I mean, this battle is. I think the question now is, does the Royals sink anything? And
yep,
it's certainly possible that with that one eight gun, but I mean, we're at a point now where probably not. Honestly,
yeah,
I mean, if they fully committed to firing at that eight gun that's on that circular island, maybe they would get it. But they're absolutely getting crossfire from these three eight guns that are crossing around behind them. The 13 gun that's just held that position. Masterclass from the Krakens, really, on a victory without a loss here.
absolutely, and it's yeah, you almost have to call it at this point for a Kraken win because with 3 8 guns, yeah, that's a steep hill to climb to try to take out a 13 and 4 eights at this point.
Yeah, I mean, again, is it in the realm of possibility that the Royal Black Fleet may sink an eight gun? Yes, but they are probably not going to.
Yeah,
Uh,
probably not now.
one of their ships is at the brink of death.
Yeah,
The other one is at about half. This
yeah,
is wow. And it really
yeah,
goes to show you with neutral wind. When you start with neutral wind, getting the wind early and then using it on an enemy that doesn't understand how to counter a charge from the rear is everything. And I want to congratulate everybody who steps up to the big seat being an admiral in this league. But these are these are very fundamental wind considerations that have to be made by every admiral. You have to understand that an experienced team is going to try to take the win from you, and if you give it to them, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to charge your they're going to pass you and then hook behind you because that's the strategy that puts you in a situation where you're against the wind. They have it. We're about to watch this team go down, and yeah, it doesn't look like they're going to sink anything.
which is really unfortunate. It isn't that they haven't played hard or done the work here. It's just they got outmaneuvered.
They got
And
outmaneuvered early,
yep,
and that's it. That's the ball game.
yep.
Kraken's victory with no ships sunk.
Oof.
An absolutely brutal performance. Let's see what the scores are.
Oh
Pretty
my.
convincing score. I mean, it's a good score difference there. Something like
Yeah.
17,000 point score difference. That's going to put the Krakens back into second place and keeps the jockeying for that second place between them and the SCP going, which is fun for us. For the Royals, this was a tough loss.
Yeah.
Um, the Krakens again. The Krakens are I think I say this sometimes because it really does bear consideration. The Leviathans are a great team. We have a great team. We're very lucky to have it. If we didn't exist, the way that people speak about the Leviathans, is the way that they would be speaking about the 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 Krakens. The Krakens would be the team that nobody can touch. They would be the undefeatable groups, if not for the Leviathans. And again, I'm not trying to say that the Leviathans are better than the Krakens. We will play those battles out and find out ourselves. But that's the level. It is really at a completely different level that we see these guys play. They have a complete understanding of tactics, a complete understanding of fleet formation. They understand the wind. They understand everything that it takes to win these battles, and it is just a thing to behold because when they do it right, they are untouchable. And that's what the Royal Black Fleet found out today.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but you know, I hope if anything, the one thing that not only our viewers but the other teams take it into account when watching this stream is the importance of position, the importance of the wind, and the importance of taking advantage of every scrap that an enemy gives you. Don't let up, be aggressive, and get in there. And I think the Kraken really showed that today. That was the way to win. It's all about strategy and positioning yourself properly. Cannoneering only gets you so far. At the end of the day, it is the fleet work that matters.
Yeah, and this was not a loss of Royal Black Fleet cannoneering. It really wasn't. They did a
Oh,
great job. Um, because you saw it. You saw cannons blown up. You saw a good fire. It's just when an enemy gets around behind you and pressures the rear of your line like that, you can't create coherent strategy.
yeah,
It's extremely difficult to create a coherent response to that level of pressure. So when a team that is extraordinarily confident, like the Krakens, executes a maneuver that flawless, it's a real uphill battle to imagine that the Royal Black Fleet is then going to be able to pull a response out of their ass. And that's why you never let it get to that.
yeah,
You don't want to let it get to the point where they're crossing behind you. You certainly don't want to let it get to the point where they're crossing behind you, and the 13 gun is isolated with other ships unable to turn around and come to its aid. All that stuff. Unfortunately, it spelled their doom from the meta perspective, and the individual heroic actions on the ship's decks can't change that overwhelming difference in positional strength that the
yep.
Krakens had, and it was a beautiful thing. It's always a beautiful thing to watch, and they do it every battle. They do it like every battle there is. So, you know, you got to take your hats off to a great team. Um, we do seem to have our admirals in here. I see Percy and Killer Bow Guy. Let's start with you guys. Welcome. How you guys feeling?
Well, that was a good round for us. I think we had some pressure coming into it from people taking our second spot, and we didn't
Yeah.
want that really to happen. That had to be changed. I felt that we came in with a strong showing. I think
Mhm.
that we had a great showing from our opposition as well. In certain circumstances, we were pretty scared with if they were going to come straight at us when they were going to make that maneuver, and then when they saw they wanted to get behind us, we knew we had the advantage with the banked wind.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think things fell into place quite nicely for us that battle.
Yeah. And that's what we were talking about here, the wind advantage that you guys earned yourself at the beginning when the Royal Black Fleet decided to pull out of that competition to go get that wind, that lowest wind. They set themselves up for a situation in which you had the capacity to pass them by and then hook around behind them, which is exactly what you did. And it was a really great maneuver. And then, there are counters to that kind of thing. Just didn't see it manifest today. And it was and you found once you were cutting behind the enemy fleet that the 13 gun was like in a position to bring all your guns to bear on, and that really sealed the deal for you guys. And from there on out, you were kind of dictating the pace of today's battle. This was such a sort of a cookie cutter, by the books use of the wind. Is this what you expected this battle to be like?
We had an idea. We didn't expect them to mirror us in any way. I think Killer could probably sort of go over that with the plan that we had in place. Do you want to take over the rest of that, Killer?
Yeah. So we always like to take the harsh wind first because that means whenever you do the flip, you kind of end up in a good way. And we were hoping they would come down the middle like they did. And then if they would mirror us, it probably would end up in a death spiral. But we hoped they would go in the middle. We take the harsh wind at the beginning, turn around at the island, and just see what island would be the best turning point, which was the middle island, the longer one. And because then they turned against the wind, and the 13 gun is like 3-4 knots against the wind,
Yeah.
and it was left behind, so we could take advantage of that. But it did play out as we hoped. We
Great.
didn't expect the 13 gun to be that alone as it was, but yeah, we did think it would play out kind of like this how it went.
We were kind of worried actually when we were doing our turn up wind that we were going to be having that exact same scenario. So we're kind of glad that we managed to get it to a point where it wasn't us and someone else took that issue instead.
We try to keep our fleet together. Like, don't let the 13 gun be alone. Just keep it in the middle. Make sure you keep an eye on it. Don't let the 8 guns run off. Keep a tight formation, and we did, and it
Yeah, that's right.
worked out perfect.
Great. Killam, you have any questions for our victorious admirals? I mean, this was about as good of a victory as you could ask for from them, which means I don't have a lot of questions because they kind of left it all out in the field there for
Yeah,
us
no,
to watch.
I don't have any questions. Just well done. I commented numerous times about the fleet work and how well you did, and you did one of my favorite maneuvers, which is to stop and take advantage of a situation there towards the end of the battle when you
Yeah.
stop the entire fleet to focus. That's it is such an underrated maneuver, which is just stopping.
Absolutely. We thought we had it when it came into it that when we have opportunities that are just too good, we saw it when we played against the Jackals. I think if we slowed down a little bit, we might have got a little bit of extra time before they managed to make that maneuver that sent us into a bit of disarray. But it kind of worked here in a different way. We managed to take down time and slow ourselves down to a complete standstill because we knew they would have time and struggle to get out of any wind differentials. So yeah, that's kind of something. But we also want to just, before I say anything else, we want to thank Cameron for managing to kill Zabob with his own friendly cannon. Our captain was about to come and board one of their boats, and Cameron, with his own accuracy, managed to snipe our guy as he was about to jump onto the boat. So that's
Oh,
I
jeez.
think that's where the match went in our favor, really. So just remember that one.
The blood sacrifice. You guys made a blood
Absolutely.
sacrifice for victory. That's dark.
Yes, that is exactly what happened.
Oh, jeez.
Very good. Well,
gods.
congratulations on a great victory, and congratulations on returning to your seat at second place here in the NSL.
Thank you.
And it's it would be fun now to watch you guys in the SCP jockey for second place for the rest of this for the very short rest of the season. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing you guys competing in the final matches, as you have really earned your spot on the upper bracket of this league with incredible.
It's like it's planned that the last battle of the NSL is us against SCP. It's like it's meant to be.
It is, isn't it? All right, because it is it's the last battle of the season.
Yeah, it is the
versus
last
them.
before we go to the other Grand Championship thing. It's
And then unless one of you guys takes first, the next battle is going to be you guys fighting a second time.
oh hell, I'm already looking forward to it.
So that should be two very good battles. Well,
Absolutely.
Again, thank you guys, and great job today. Let's turn it over. We have Admiral J, and I think we have the Doctor here representing the Royal Black Fleet. How
Good
are
evening.
you guys doing? Jay, this is, I believe, tell me if I'm wrong, this is your first time in the big chair.
Yes, well, this was my debut as Fleet Admiral, being in the kind of overall command of the fleet. Normally, I'm but a humble 8-gun captain, which is really where my heart lies, but I was on an 8-gun today.
Yes,
I was not on the flagship. First off, I'd like to congratulate the KRN on their victory today, which is very well deserved. And we always fight the KRN with the knowledge that they are a very capable and respectful opponent, which is, seen in our strategy because we were trying to come up with ways to avoid prolonged engagements, or at least I was. That was my idea going into the match. And we did run up a few plans and scenarios and such before the match. We didn't just go into this and kind of be like, well, we'll see what happens, like we have, which we've done in the past. But we did run up some scenarios. So we had a certain course that we had right off the bat go in. I believe it was northeast. And then there was a certain point where we were going to see what the KRN were doing and adjust off of that. So we drew up a few scenarios, and you guys, we kind of went the same way, coming towards each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did turn off, like how we had planned. Sadly, I think we underestimated the speed of the entire maneuver. And our fleet was a little strung out, and so the front vessels adjusted their speed down a bit to try and make the fleet, a bit more coherent, which of course is completely fine. And I again signed off on that, and it was fine. But it did make the whole maneuver of turning about to where we wanted to go a lot slower. And then when you guys, of course, change your direction again, and we had to curve around, the 13-gun did get left by itself, which is, honestly quite ironic, because when I got told yesterday that I was going to be Admiral, and I was mainly thinking about how we were going to stop the 13-gunner from being isolated. So it's unfortunate. The 13-gunner I don't know what issues it was necessarily having. I think it was having issues from what I heard from the captain and the officers channel, and the officers channel can get quite crowded, so I definitely can't catch everything in there. But what I do know is that the person we had in charge of the 13 gunner is a great sailor and captain, and he definitely tried to do his best in whatever situation was going on. But it did sadly get left out, kind of to dry, if you will, when the rest of us were turning, because it just could not get the speed that the rest of us could. And that it's not the end of the world. It's of course a very bad blow, but it's not the end of the world. And I think our comeback and our resolve to start pursuing the KRN's fleet pretty aggressively after the 13 gunner went down went pretty well, in terms of, of course it didn't deliver us the victory, but I think the maneuvers that we pulled off, which was suggested by the doctor and then approved of by me, I'd like to give him credit, because he was leading the column at that point. I had dropped to the back. I think it went well, and I don't think this was kind of a very embarrassing defeat for us at all. I think there was a lot of proof of concept in our methods. I think we had a good enemy to fight against, which of course makes things harder. And I think it was just a matter of kind of may the best man win with things. I think our biggest issue was we definitely underestimated the speed at which certain things would have to happen in certain maneuvers, certain tactics. But I mean, it's
I think we
it is
all
what it
felt
is.
that once when
Yeah.
Cap rolling or captaining the 13 gun. It's a beast. It's a real tough one to sail against the wind.
Yeah, no,
This
I
was
felt
my
really
thinking.
bad about the 13 guns positioning, because again, it's like the one thing I didn't want to happen. But
Yeah.
we came back from it.
Hey,
Yeah,
you'll learn
exactly.
from it, and you'll get stronger. And but yeah,
No,
He didn't make
another
it
thing.
easy.
Another
give you
thing I'd like to mention. First off, thank you, Percival. I appreciate that. Another thing I'd like to mention is we had, at least in the 8th hour, a lot of our top players not around today. We didn't have Shum on the carronade, who of course deals loads of points for us. And he always delivers some excellent shots. And of course we didn't have Gilly captaining a ship or being the fleet admiral. And I am of course Gilly second in the 8th LR, and I try and learn a lot from him. I think he's a very good commander on land and sea. And I would like to think that I did the best I could today with it all, and that he would approve. But I suppose we'll find out later when he gets home. So
Oh, yeah. Well,
Nah,
if we
you
see you
did.
next time, I hope that he's approved, and if not, we'll see if you're a cabin boy or not.
yeah.
Jay, your first match, great job, man. It's
Yeah,
always
it was
a
a really
daunting
good
first
match.
time,
You
so
did very well.
good job.
Yeah,
That's
agreed.
right. I gotta applaud the doctor as well, and Splunker and all the other captains on my board, because they were great. They were calling out things that I maybe did not see. I know there was a time when Splunker was leading the column and he was suggesting things, and I said to him, I was like, Splunker, I think I need you to make this call, because I can't necessarily see what you're seeing right now, which is a disadvantage of being kind of further to the back when admiraling.
Yeah.
So but honestly, I got to thank everyone today. Everyone who I spoke to that was involved, I think, did their part to their best, and that's all we can ask.
When it comes to somebody new jumping in the fleet admiral's seat, you always have to take your hat off to that person, because this is the competition of competitions in naval, and so for anybody who steps up and takes command of the fleet, all we can say is welcome to the club, and we hope to see more of you, because these defeats are learning experiences 100%. I lost the first competition I ever joined, and I can speak for others. You start from a position where you understand the theory, and then you see how it executes in practice, and it's always unexpected, especially with the wind, how it's going to slow you down, how your ships are not going to stay in the way that you envision them, and getting your team to a part where you can translate your thoughts into creating that fleet formation that you're looking for, and learning the hard learned lessons, which is your fleet is only as fast as its 13 gun is as fast, and then utilizing that knowledge to create defensive. There's so much that I'm sure you're going to look back at this and say, oh man, this is how I'm going to do it next time, and that's the whole point. So welcome to the club of fleet admirals, Mr. J, and we are just very, very, very happy to welcome you. and more importantly, to talk a little bit about your fleet here today. What do you think? Because this was a loss, but where did you feel like you guys, you excelled? What was the part of your fleet performance today that you were very proud
Well, I personally think that the gunnery was pretty good. At least in my opinion, from my ships, um, everyone on my ship was getting pretty consistent hits. Very good shot calls going out from the people on my vessel, and from what I know, I think the other vessels did well. Especially towards the latter half after we kind of did the more aggressive tactics after the 13 gun went down. So that's something that I never have any complaints with. But I don't, the doctor might have a different area.
No, I think the gunnery was really excellent today, at least on my ship as well. I think our recovery after losing the 13 gunner, like we didn't completely fold afterwards. I think we were putting up a good fight afterwards. I think that was also one thing I like to think that we did pretty well at. It's obviously going to be really hard to come back from a 13 gunner deficit, but
No, absolutely. I think the point is I think we nearly did though. There was a time in the match when we began the pursuit after the 13 gun went down that I think there was definitely a tangible kind of
window for victory?
window. Yes, that's a great term. That we could have sank 2 8 guns and maybe pulled back the the ship losses.
Yeah.
And everyone in our officers board chat knew that, and we were all saying like, okay, we have a chance here, and they were like, don't jinx it and everything. So it's it was there was still high morale and hopes were high, and no one was too demoralized from the 13 gunner going down, although it was a blow. And I think that's good.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I have to say about it.
Killen, do you have any questions for the Royal Black Fleet Admiralty?
No questions, but again, just to echo what Merc said, congratulations for stepping up. You've now been blooded as official NSL Admiral. Wear that hat with pride. This may have been a technical loss, but just playing in the way you did, that's a win.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate the warm sentiments and comments made by people here. For my first kind of overarching command, but once again, I would like to kind of take those sentiments off me directly and really put them to the doctor and Splunker, who I had a lot of advice from, and who I really needed to help make calls. Even not necessarily making the calls myself, just approving of them, So doctor saying, I think we should turn this way. I check, I see the vision, and I'm like, yep, I think that's great. Let's go for it, the doctor, they're really helpful, and they are great people to work with.
Yeah, it's something that most people probably don't know because a lot of people aren't in these command chats when these battles are happening, but it is very much a conversation that you end up having with your co-admirals or vice admirals or captains who are seeing different parts of the battle than you are and have a different perspective that you do need to always be taking as advice when you're making your decisions. All right, well, all I can say is congratulations to both teams on a fantastic battle. It was very fun to watch. We will be getting a little bit of a break next week, but not too much of a break. I am trying to cook up a wardroom next weekend because we don't have a battle. A wardroom where I will be speaking, hopefully, with AGS Harper, who was supposed to join us last week but couldn't. And we are going to hear a little bit, hopefully, some juicy details, maybe never details. I'm not sure. I can't make any promises, but we're going to be hearing some details about the upcoming naval expansion that the AGS, the developers of Holdfast, are releasing. It is called the Age of Sail, and it is probably the biggest news in the naval community in, I don't know, half a decade. And we are so psyched for it, and we are hopefully going to have him. Yeah, so let's leave it at that. Much anticipated, long anticipated. And hopefully we're going to have a representative from AGS in the wardroom with me next week, so that the beginning of our program can be a conversation with them about what we can expect, because what they tell us is going to have titanic ramifications for what the next season of the NSL is going to look like. We've been spoiled some amazing details already, but we'll wait till next week to tell all of you fans and viewers about the whole of what we're looking at. And so hopefully we'll have that next week. We're really looking forward to seeing you there. After that week, then the following week, we Leviathans are back up again fighting the Marines in the week 24 matchup. So we will see you at Ward Room next weekend, and we'll see you. You'll be seeing me again in action in week 24 as the NSL's season 1 winds down to its inevitable conclusion, and we see who will rise and who will as this season wraps itself up. I would like to thank you, Killam, for joining me today. We're going to have you around. I thought this was great. I hope you had a good time.
I did. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, anytime.
Can I say one more thing before we go?
Oh, okay, sure. Go ahead.
We forgot one thing. Percival also was a first-time captain, so I just wanted to say that for the record that he also is going to say,
Yeah.
This was your first time,
Yeah.
Percy?
It was
as
his
a-
first
I've
time as
only ever
admiral. We
voiced.
forgot to say that, but it was
I've only
also
ever
his
voiced.
maiden. So we had a maiden battle today.
Wow.
there we go.
So, Percy, you've co-admiraled, you've vice admiral
Yes,
before?
I've never actually
Funny,
taken the
right?
full helm myself before. So.
Well, then our hats must go off to you as well,
He
sir.
has
Thank you
been
for letting
he
us
has
know.
been my
Sorry.
vice admiral and he's been Wavy's vice admiral, but he never
Yes.
was an admiral. So yeah.
Well, wow. 2 inductions into the Fleet Admiral Club today. That is a momentous occasion. Well,
That's
congratulations on
100%
a.
win rate, right?
That's it. That's
No, I'm
a
joking,
nice
I'm
start,
joking.
isn't it? It's a nice start. Well,
No, don't do it anymore. That win rate. I'm joking.
yeah. Now never play
Yeah,
again,
God.
and you're never can lose it. No. Congratulations to you and welcome to the club, sir. And with
Thank
that,
you.
incredible news. You heard it here first. As they say, a maiden battle between these 2 first-time admirals, and it was a great one. We will see you all on the next upcoming weeks. I want to thank again all the people who put the hard work into the NSL, all our correspondents, our great director, Mr. Dr. Professor Esquire, the third, second, junior, whatever, and and thank you to all the people who sort out our mercenaries, who put out the pings for these teams to bring their numbers in. Guys like Gunner, Killam, you're usually back there doing it too. Who we could not live without, and we love so very much, and we thank them so much for all the hard work they put into this. We will see you all with another great production of the NSL, not next week, which we will have the Ward Room, but the following week after that, where we have the Leviathans versus the Marines. See you then, everybody. Have a great weekend.